Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
By bolter shell, flamers burst, and melted lance. The mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sins of existence. So has it been for 5 millennia. So shall it be until the end of time.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Stephen Ford. What's up, guys?
I miss you saying Mike Haspel.
I miss me saying Mike Haspel too.
Damn, I miss Mike Haspel.
Where is Mike Haspel? he missed the cue. Well, somebody call him. We'll have to call him. He's probably working.
He is still on his sabbatical, kicking ass and taking names in the book writing world. Doing it BIG for BIG.
So it's been a long week since we talked about Deathwatch, and a lot of things have happened on the interwebs. Warhammer Fest is a thing, I believe.
There was a fest of the Warhammers. I also killed Horus Heresy.
Yeah,
they said it on the internet. So it's
I read in a back alley Facebook chat that Rob Bear he made it official. The 30K is gone.
30K is gone. I killed it. I did it.
Yep. Yeah, I want you to know, Robbie B, it's not even the fact that you were alleged quoted saying that GW is going to kill Horus Heresy. I think the quote is that Rob Bear killed Horus Heresy. You, sir, have the power.
Just like that. I'm just sitting at home. I'm like, oh, well, I got a text message. It's like, congratulations. Your purchase to kill Horus Heresy has gone through. Okay, cool. Sorry, everybody that liked Horus Heresy. No, just joking. So Warhammer Fest happened this weekend. Lots of cool news coming out of there. Titanicus, oh my gosh. Bunch of sexy new Titans coming out in August. I can't wait.
Am I the only one who doesn't give a fuck about Titanicus in the world?
I think so.
I want you to understand, guys, that I actually don't know what you're saying. Robbie B, I need you to fill me in. I've been seeing these posts on the internet, and it's like, check out this huge night, check out this and this. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm used to like literally the betrayal of Calth boxes, and whatnot. I'm like, am I going to get a cheap ass Warlord Titan? Like, what is this game? What are these relics? Can I port them over? If I buy this box, can I use them in 40K?
I mean, I guess you can count it as anything, really. I mean, they are GW models, and as long as they're, about the same size and such, I don't see why not. But technically they are different models, but whatever. There's going to be so many cool conversions. I saw a dope conversion today that used those Caradon Overlord ships, but it had like orc battle wagon turrets and tops on it, and it was like a orky like land ship. I was like, that was awesome. Like I love seeing stuff like that, like crossing over.
It has definitely been a while since I've seen the coolest of cools orc conversions. They're always classy.
So is there anything? So what specific? Just help me out with this, Rob. What specifically makes you like excited, gives you the throbbing erection that you clearly have when I see the blood draining from your face about Titanicus?
No, that's just how I look normally.
Oh, that's just your normal look?
That's just my normal pallor. So Titanicus is cool because obviously, a Warlord Titan is $3,000. And you can't exactly put that on a tabletop and play it against your other buddy's Warlord Titan and then have a bunch of Warhounds and Reavers and Knights bouncing around on the table like normal 40K scale. This is smaller scale. It's played on a 4x4. You can get it in a box. It's rumored to be the 100-pound price tag, which I think is
150.
Not quite 160, but I don't know. They said about the starter price, so we'll definitely see that. We don't know the time. We don't know all the stats on the game, like how it all play. We have seen a card where it's like, you can have the cards on the tabletop and you're actually like adding and modifiers and things like that.
I'll tell you what. If the game mechanic is strong enough, yeah, I'll get behind it. Like, it's going to take some innovative play. It's going to take some combo based, ability based, card mechanic. If they can give me some Shadespire level card shit, and even like I was using HeroClix level abilities and team abilities, like faction abilities, they can get all that engaged. I'll get behind a game system. But like, I mean, like the reason I like Titans is because they're gigantic. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, like, oh, look at this Night Titan or this, this Warhound Titan. I was like, bruh, like I like it because it's this big. Like I don't necessarily give a shit about a 28 millimeter or a 30 millimeter version of it. Like I'm stoked on the size, and so that's where it's losing me. Like in the models, I'm like, okay, they're tiny, got it. What else? Better have sick rules.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of previews yet on that, but I'm sure it will have some of the flavor of the old Titanicus, where you had, like sections, hit areas and things like that. And
blow a shoulder off.
Yeah, I think it's cool because you can put all these things that most people are never going to have and be able to play on the tabletop. $3,000 Warlord Titan, might be, I don't know, you might get one in the box and a couple of Warhounds and stuff like that. But, for the most part, this isn't something that you're going to realistically be able to play on a big scale. So scaling it down and having fun and having another thing that you can play. And then, there'll be Titan Legions where you get the special bonuses, just like we see with the night houses and stuff in 40K. Like there'll be all that cool immersive rules.
You're definitely speaking more my language when you start saying shit like that. Like if I can get some legit night house faction rules, some sick abilities, like Warhound Titan has this ability, or if they can go one step further, if GW can go one step further and be like, this is, they keep putting out the product, like this is the blah pattern Warhound Titan 0-1 with this special ability. Like you can give me, it doesn't have to be collectible, but you can give me hype as fuck on some unique rules that so it's an ability system with a faction system, with a card element where cards matter, not like 40K where cards are game aids, but like more like Shadespire where cards are integral mechanic to the game. Yeah, I can see myself getting miniature psychosis over that.
Plus, you get to see the narrative of weapons on a scale that you'd never see in 40K, like vortex missiles, like real crazy shit that you could never even accurately represent because their area of effect would be too big for the normal 4x6 table for 40K. You know what I mean? So like stuff like that, getting to see that, stay and play mechanics that just
like the reason I liked Epic. Like I loved Epic. I loved Epic because the rules. Like I didn't even talk about those shitty little fucking tiny models that were disgusting with no details. Like I did not
terrible.
care.
I couldn't get behind it.
They're garbage. I could play it because it was competitive, and I didn't even give a fuck about painting them because they were so garbage looking. But like obviously these models aren't garbage. These models are fabulous, and if you can make the rules an updated, modern, playable, competitive system that mirrors how Epic was, but in a modern game theory era where we have these things that we just talked about. Yeah. Yep.
Remember Epic, once the game of Epic, as you set up, was way bigger than a normal game of 40K. And your representation of a 40K game at that small scale really didn't happen until you got about this far away from each other. Like right here within like 6 to 8 inches, that was a game of 40K represented epically on the tabletop. And that's, what a lot of this game will be with Titanicus, because, on a 4x4 table, that's something that you couldn't even represent on a 4x6 for 40K scale. So it won't even be till you like close on like a street or like an alleyway that would be the representation that you could even slide 2 4x6 tables together.
That's the best part for sure. Like me and David, who we talk about all the time, like we used to talk about all the time. We would do like the Holy Trinity fight to settle disputes where we play a game of Gothic, which is like this far away. Then you play a game of Epic where you're this far away, a game of 40K, and then a game of Inquisitor.
Oh, nice.
And the goal was if you played an orc Gothic fleet, you had to play orcs in all of them, right? If you could get away with that, right? So that was like, because then it's like you just kept like magnify 10. You just kept getting closer to the action.
Yeah,
right?
closer and closer.
And that, to me, that's sick. So there's a lot of narrative there, And
yeah, no.
I want you to know, you literally just made me want to find someone who knows how to play, who can teach me how to play, Battlefleet, Gothic, Epic, and Inquisitor, so I can challenge them into this said ring of combat.
No, it's just win-loss. Whoever gets the most wins. That's That's the sick shit, right? Like, imagine if you
It's
did.
like Planetfall.
First off, like
Yeah.
I'm not even down to engage in this level of play unless we're playing for pink slips. Like when you enter this realm of competitiveness, you say to yourself, this is a 4-round event. This is winner takes all, playing for keeps. I am so ready for this. We have to make this happen. I have to find someone.
It's funny you're talking about
All
pink
right,
slips.
Hold on a sec.
Do it.
I've got something to propose. What if we play a large scale game of Titanicus, or we play a small scale, a normal size game of Titanicus, but then when the two forces after the game get that resolved, we play a normal size game of Titanicus. Obviously, we're gonna have to source some minis.
I see where your head's going. I've already fixed it. So you have to have 2 tables simultaneously.
Okay.
It's teams. All right, me, Juice versus Robin Haspel. Me and Juice in the same team. Robin Haspel in the same team, right? And Juice and I have the real models of the little models that right. So you and Haspel are playing. So I'm playing Haspel in a game of real 40K size models, and you're playing Juice in the size of Titanicus. And every time you get into a scramble, right, Juice and I have to play it, right? We continue. So it's team, right? So you're having to communicate back and forth, playing the macro and the micro of the same game. The same models are being moved at the same time, and we're only playing a grid on your game. So all final dice rolls have to be determined in the 40K worlds, right? And I think that'd be like a 6-hour game, a lot of beer involved. And
this epicness. I want you to know, everyone listening to the show right now is saying this unicorn of epic proportion has got to happen, and I'm with it.
I think it would just take some sourcing, but we could probably come up with something.
First off, Robbie B, don't get it twisted. You own every one of these models in spades. I've seen your collection. Don't downplay it, homie.
Can we use Transformers? I may have a few Titans, but we'll have to flesh it out a little bit. But I like that. I like it.
This is amazing.
It could even be a trios. Like, I don't know, like 3v3 trios, like a doubles and a 1v1, and the 1v1 is the epic scale. Like, I don't know.
Dude, remember when we did that big game at EJ's place and Horton came down, and that one summer
it was like 100,000 points.
It was so many points, and we had like people like just helping us move. Like Horton would call out, and like people would move.
It took 6 people to make that game happen. It was 3 4x8 tables, arranged caddy corner, right? So you could actually reach things. So it's like one is in the center, and the one on the right would be skewed slightly off to the left. The other one would be skewed off to the right. And it was so many models. It took 6 people. Rob was I had a ladder set up. I would move the light around. Rob would film it from a ladder, while each player, Horton and EJ, had 2 assistants to make things happen. And it took every bit of 12 hours to play that game.
Unreal. Yeah, I missed that. That was that entire summer. That was the year my dad got diagnosed and everything else. So I was in limbo with a lot of things. But man, I missed that game. That was epic, to say the least.
Yeah.
Literally bigger than epic, but yet still epic. No, those were good times. Yeah, we'll have to put something together for August for sure. Get line some things up.
Rob, keep it going. Titanicus, cool. What else happened at Warhammer?
Cool. What else you got? Not a whole much on the 40K front. Necron Construct. They say it might be Canoptic. They say it might be perhaps some sort of other thing, but they don't know yet. But they'll name it when it comes out. Imperial Armor, Fires of Syraxis, whatever it is, apparently is delayed to get reported over to 8th. That'll be like year end or after the holiday, Christmas, I'm assuming. And then they have the Imperial Talons of the Emperor will be Grey Knights, Sisters of Silence, I'm assuming, and maybe some of the normal sister, like the Repressor and stuff. Rhinos and Custodes, will be the first Imperial armor out the gate for 8th edition. Traditionally, they do one at the end of the summer, so maybe we'll see that before Titanicus. I don't know. It would be cool. And then another one later in the year.
And Robbie B, just so I know, Forge World Custody models, those are the kind of land speeder dudes that you guys that you're working on in the studio. Is that right? Like, what Forge World Custody models are there?
So there's a big ass dreadnought called the Telemon, which they just put out trial rules for 40K. You can only have one in your 40K army, though. I guess we could go over those if you wanted to tonight or some other time. Then we've got there's a transport, there's a land speeder kind of looking thing. There's a main battle tank with several gun variants. There's the contemptors that you can field a bunch of different ways. You can do the dual guns on the hands, or you can have the custody glaive, which is pretty tight. I think I covered them all. Oh, you've got Terminators that have variant shooting weapons. You've got and fire pike type things. I think that's all of them.
Literally, they have as many options for Forge World as they do in the Index.
They have a ton of options. There's stuff they haven't even produced yet, like the Hecaton Guard. I don't even think it's technically been produced yet. They have different spears even. Like you could take a multi guardian spear and just put it on your regular dudes. Like there's some crazy stuff.
Wow, that's exactly what Custodes need, because right now they have a very expensive ass rocket pod basically that they can shoot out of their jet bikes, but it's way too costly for what it's going to do most of the time in a game. I could definitely see the usefulness for having some of these troop choices with spears that shoot melta-guns that deep strike, right?
Yeah.
Like now they can bust open, because for anybody who has played or played against Custodes in Mono Faction Forum or anything else, is where they do struggle with toughness 7 and 8 stuff, aka vehicles.
They do, yeah. If not the big baddies with the spears. Also 40K stuff that got leaked just before the event was the Kill Team box, which looks to have like a rogue trader, or maybe it's Kill Team, maybe it's not. They said it's skirmish, but I guess that's Kill Team. There's a rogue trader squad in there that looks pretty dope. We hadn't seen anything like that before. That looks like there's a couple of assassin kind of hierons, a dog of all things, some really decked out guardsmen, because remember, rogue traders have the dopest equipment because they have all that cheddar and the ability to equip all their dudes super fresh. And they're going up against Nurgle, some sort of Nurgle thing, and it looks like there's a couple different modes of play, maybe a starship board with some really cool terrain pieces like command chairs and engineering suites and bulkhead doors and stuff that looked really cool on the narrative kind of scale. So that stuff came out. I don't know if their previews for 40K were a little light, so that stuff was released or spotted, but it's definitely got people talking as far as that goes. And then there's the big Age of Sigmar previews. Now remember when I said they'll never do another edition of the game, because they don't have to. They'll just do second edition printings of the Codex books. And what did they do? They went and made a second edition of the game and said you can still use your Codex books while they're Battle Tome in Age of Sigmar. Didn't see that one coming. But it's good to see that they're rolling out Age of Sigmar the way it should have been rolled out, because the way it was rolled out in 2015 was piss poor.
Sure.
Very, very
sure.
poor.
That's what happens. They thought that a concept would catch on just because they released it, because of who they were as a company. They obviously saw that didn't mean shit. Their patrons did not appreciate it, and they said, hey, if you want us to follow this game and you want to keep this game, you got to give us more than we killed this world because we wanted to, and we give you this because we think that's how it should be done. So absolutely, they have definitely rectified Age of Sigmar in spades compared to what it was when it was dropped.
Yeah, they're definitely rolling out. They're doing the right thing. They put out FAQ like, how is this going to affect my army? They're very upfront about it. They had great PR on it, which is what they do now. You know, they literally poll us to see what we want. They engage with us to figure out what we want to sell us more things better. That's great. That's great marketing. That's great business. They're hitting on all the right numbers, hitting all the right cylinders. But the previews I like for Age of Sigmar actually seems good so far, which is really cool because you've got things like where they're doing previews like the double turn may or may not be as big of a thing now because you roll off, and if you tie, then the person whose turn it was gets to decide, which is kind of neat. So that's kind of a thing that won't. It may or may not. Apparently, there's other bonuses to not going back to back based on psychic spells, which they haven't explained quite yet, but they were very heavily alluding to it, which is really exciting to see because we haven't really seen that magical component yet, which may be why they're rolling out Death and Sigmar together. The Sigmar casters going heavy on the shooting and stuff and the magic. I'm definitely excited for that. New rulebook in June, new General's Handbook at the same time was very exciting. So there is a lot on the way. Obviously, new models. I'm not as excited about the Stormcast stuff, but I don't know if you guys saw the Death stuff. Looks amazing. The old black coach coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very exciting. Then the rumor is that the Skaven are getting worked on as the next battle tome out the gate after these two battle tomes coming out, Night Haunts and an updated Sigmar, I guess, of some sort. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and they're putting out new previews every day between them. They said they're going to do a new Age of Sigmar every day up until release. Then of course we got some Harlequin stuff, and I don't know. I'm excited. We got some new releases this week too. We can hit up the Tabletop Market Watch. I know you guys have a lot to say about Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, you hit on Age of Sigmar. Oh yeah, we have some Harlequin stuff. Like, yo, do we ever have some Harlequin stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about Harlequins.
So, well, real quick. All right. So, the releases this week are going on pre-order this week. Rather, is the Harlequin rulebook for I think it's 40. Let me see. Nope, 35 US. The Harlequin data cards for 15, and then the Webway Gate piece of scenery for $40 going on pre-order this week, so it'll come out next week.
Gate, that's
yes.
the piece that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. For 120 points.
120 points. Yep.
$40 seems like a steal.
I agree. It seems like almost a must-have for keyword Eldari.
All the factions. Anything with a pointy ear.
Yep. We can jump into that. I'll pull that up real quick. Let's see what we got.
I'm down. So, this thing is kind of like a hybrid, right? Of like a almost gene stealer infestation node and a feculent Gnarl, you know, where it can't be, the feculent Gnarl can't be interacted with, you know, but it does so many buffs for your army, where this Eldari Webway portal thing does amazing thing for your army, but it has a toughness value.
These stats for 120 points aren't too shabby. A toughness 8, 14 wounds, a 3-up save with a was it 5-up invulnerable? Like for 120 points, just name another unit that has that.
So I have to admit, my first instinct was it's not worth, because it's kind of restricted where it can be and whatnot. It's not worth 120 points. But for toughness 8, let me just put something in perspective. A Tesseract Vault is not toughness 8.
No, it's not. Anytime something's a toughness 8 or God forbid toughness 9, like you really need to be like, ooh, what is this all about?
Yeah, toughness 8 is actually noteworthy.
Yeah, it's a force multiplier.
And it comes with an invulnerable save.
Yep.
Not only it has an armor save, a quality 3-up armor save, it comes with a 5-up invulnerable. That is actually surprising.
Because like Kenny was saying earlier, a 3-up save nowadays is basically a 5-up invulnerable save to anything that's -2, because there's a lot of -2 rolling around.
AP interacts it used to just violate your cover, right? Or your save. And so you had to rely on cover. So cover used to be like, yo, flat 5 at last edition. People had ways to get around it, you know? So that's what I'm saying is like most Marines were counting on a 5-up cover save, going to ground and not shooting ever again, and a 4-up cover save, right? And now you just have a 5-up save against most quality guns. And if you're in cover, it's a 2-up save. So at the end of the day, 3-up save has a weird relationship with the world, right? Like a strange relationship. So anyone who has a toughness 8 gets a 2-up, gets a 5-up, gets possible to benefit from cover. This shit gets real.
Yeah, it definitely can.
It's so funny is that your power armor is going to potentially hold stronger against a couple random las cannon shots where you get 5-up saves against if you're in cover versus your mass firepower of heavy bolters.
Just want to hear some funny shit. You remember back in the day we used to talk about how like dumb choppas were because it was like it made your armor save 4.
Yeah,
so if you were,
no matter if you had a t-shirt on or not, you know, you're taking a 4.
And our fix was always like, yeah, it should just be -2 to your armor save. Remember? We used to say shit like that all the time, like, yo, choppers are dumb because they don't do anything. And it's sort of what they did. Right? The AP system is that. Like every weapon has chopper-like abilities now, right? It says AP 0 is a -2 to your armor save, -3 to your armor save. And in a game like that, you know, it's so much more interesting.
So to compare, last on this point is like to compare how people feel about a 3-up save. Do you know how pissed off I am considering that I play a lot of armies that have models because they're NIDs, 6-up saves on Termagants? Do you know how frustrated I am that I'm like, why don't I get a 5-up improvised armor save? Like t-shirt save is a 5-up on a guardsman or 5-up on a conscript.
Well, on a guardsman, improvised armor. I think they have flag jackets because improvised armor is what I have, and it's a 6. It's cold.
Oh, it's a 6. Okay, so yeah, so I'm like so many like Gene Stealer Cold and some of their armies, you know, they just have like 5-ups. I'm like, and even guardsmen, they have 5-up saves, and I'm like, why are my dumb Termagants? So like, just to show what a single point of armor does from a 5 to a 6. It is a major difference. So from a 2 to a 3, leaps and bounds.
Well, let's talk about some of these special rules because this is where it gets really interesting. So the model, when you set it up, anywhere that is more than 12 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models, and more than 3 inches away from any other terrain feature or the center of any objective marker. So
shout out to the design team, rules team, whatever, play testers team, whoever it was that helped put that rule into place. That is one of the most complex rules that I've ever heard that came out before an FAQ. That's an FAQ question, Robbie B.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That right?
Yeah.
Like, can my unit be set up within 3 inches an objective? I am very impressed that this rule came out, which is unlike anything else that we've seen, and it has automatically fixed. They preemptively fixed some things. So I am very impressed with the wording on that.
Yeah, that one was very, very forward thinking. So it's immobile. It cannot fight for any reason, nor can it fight in a fight phase. However, enemy models automatically hit this model in the fight phase. Do not make hit rolls, but friendly units can still target enemy units that are within 1 inch of this model.
All of that sounds very reasonable considering that it's a fucking wall.
So you can't hit my wall.
I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I don't need to roll to miss a wall. Like, I'm gonna punch this wall. I missed. I'm so bad at things. Like, get out of here. All that makes me happy. You know, like, those are all very well thought out rules.
Ported, yeah, all rules. Those 2 rules we've seen in the past.
Yeah, back in
mobile objects. Yeah, if you were mobilized, you got automatically hit by any close combat attack.
Yeah,
you know, if you were
immediately.
If you were a gargantuan creature or a Titanicus creature or anything else like that, you know, you didn't count as being locked in combat.
So Rob, how does this thing deploy?
So 12 inches from the enemy deployment zone and enemy models, and more than 3 inches away from any terrain features or
Wait,
the
did
center.
you say 12 inches from enemy models?
Yes.
So it's pseudo infiltrate, right? Infiltrate.
Because you during deployment.
Yeah, and
So
when
before they
you
can forward.
when you infiltrate, you have to be 12 inches away from the deployment zone and 9 inches away from an enemy.
This is 12.
So it's pseudo infiltrate. So it deploys as a bit of an infiltrator, which I find very good. That's a very good rule. Continue, please.
Well, it's probably because they probably tacked on the extra 3 because you deploy 3 from it. Just spitballing.
Is this, and then did it say it's 12 and 12? 12 from deployment zone and 12 from an enemy model?
Yes.
Yeah. And 3 from terrain features or center objectives. So then it does the Webway strike.
Wait, to be very clear. So like this is a very limited rule. Like it's very the places it can go on the table that are not in his deployment zone is very limited. So we're just being very clear with that right now before Rob breaks what it does now.
Mm-hmm. Because you can even game it when you set up deployment your objectives. You know, you can just be like, oh, well, I know he has this thing, so I'm going to try to be
don't get it twisted. Most tournaments you're going to go to, you don't get to place terrain. You don't get to place objectives anymore.
Okay, that's fair.
So like, Adepticon would suck because you get to deploy your terrain still.
Terrain and half your objectives.
Yeah.
But
in the ITC you don't either. So in ITC, it's gonna be easier to deploy there.
See what we talked about earlier. So the Webway strike, after you set up this model, any Eldari units you have not set up during deployment other than fortifications can be set up in a Webway spur.
Wait a minute. I just caught a wording that I didn't catch before. Any Eldari units that or can. What?
That you have not yet set up during deployment.
Okay, continue.
So because if you leave stuff in other deep strikes, they're in the whatever, right? They're in the sky. Just
start over.
Yeah, let's start over one more time.
After you set up this model, any Eldari units you have not yet set up during deployment, other than fortifications, can be set up in a Webway spur rather than being set up on the battlefield.
Okay, I just wanted I just wanted to make sure it didn't say some dumb shit like units that were set up off the battlefield can use this. I was like, wait, so only specialized units can use? What the fuck is the point of this?
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I guess anybody really.
All right, so no, cool. So that means it's available to anyone with the Eldari keyword. Period.
Yeah, which is huge.
Period. That's gigantic. And how do they utilize this when they come into the
one
game?
unit in a Webway spur can emerge from each friendly Webway gate at the end of your movement phases. At the end of each of your movement phases, set them wholly within 3 inches of the Webway gate and more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So that's probably the 12 inches that they're accounting for.
They were just giving it to you, yeah.
Yeah. If any friendly Webway gates have been destroyed, any units that have not yet arrived from Webway spur are considered to be slain. We know there's a stratagem that you can play that you can emergency pop them out or whatever. Webway gate, when measuring distances to and from a gate, measure from the closest point of the model. If a gate is destroyed, remove both arch pieces from the battlefield.
So when I jump out of this bitch, I jump out of any fucking physical point on the model that I want?
3 inches from it, yeah. Within. You got to be wholly within.
Okay.
I mean, 120.
Okay, so like I said, we talked about this earlier, and it took us a while to come to the conclusion how we felt about it. Highly limited deployment. It's 120 points. It's very difficult to put somewhere and it not get swarmed and not be able to use it. For 120 though, I'm behind it, and this is why. First off, it is a pseudo infiltrating unit. And the more of those you can have, the better you'll find 40K to be. If you could have something that can set up during deployment, which fucks other people's pre-deployment units and their forward operators, aka cultists, rangers and things like that. Like anything you can do to disrupt them is awesome. So even if it just did that, I'm happy. Like imagine how many points is 10 scouts? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's 45 points for a 5-man unit, so 90.
So this is I imagine displaces roughly similar space. Probably not as much as 10 can do. But so look at it like that, right? It's like a 10-man squad ish of displacing the enemy for 120. So I'm all about finding a pocket infiltrator. Secondly, the fact that it says Eldari keyword can use this, I'm 100% behind it. I would pay 120 points all day, every day. That's how I knew this was a good unit. If I had a warp gate in my chaos army that cost 120 points and it had the exact same fucking rules that this has, chaos keyword, I would buy it all day because I would just set it up like kind of in my, like right on the line so that I can deploy behind it if I needed to and still on turn 1 and not be breaking the rules about leaving my deployment zone with deep striking or reinforcements, or on turn 2 on the other side of it, right? I literally am just using it to mitigate alpha striking of my favorite unit. Now, there is a major limitation I didn't catch before, Juice. Wholly within 3 inches does not apply to every unit in the game. So it still doesn't apply to every unit that Eldari have.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. 20-man witch unit.
Wholly within, you can get 20 witches out of it because you can circle all around it, all directions.
Yeah, that's true.
But how are you going to get certain vehicles out of it?
You have to put it underneath the gate itself because it would be
like it's an arch, so you can set up under the arch and shit like that, right? But it says you have to. Didn't it say you have to pick a point?
You can just measure from any point on it.
So you
no, don't get it twisted. This model, anything unless it says from any point in the model, the rules state now that if it is not specifically said in it, it goes to the base of the model.
Does it have a base?
No, it does not have a base.
Yeah.
Oh,
see,
there it is.
So you don't get to just be in floating no man's land. You have to be still wholly within 3 inches of a point. So that's the problem. So like nothing big can use this because it can never be wholly within 3.
So, Rob, I have a question.
Wave serpent in this under this thing.
How's a wave serpent less
going to be
wholly within 3 inches?
Because hold on a sec. If you look at let me look at the picture real quick.
Like just someone pull out a wave serpent, just measure it real quick. Is it greater or less than 3 inches all the way diameter or circumference or whatever?
Well, come to find out, Nova gave us an amazing diagram some years ago to show what random ass facings and arcs things were. If I'm not mistaken, that hobo baggins of a vehicle is like 4.5 or 5 inches wide, and then from diagonal tip to tip is like 9.5 inches.
So you could get it sideways underneath the arch.
How?
So important, Rob, real quick.
You have to measure from a point, you said. So you don't get to use the floaty no man's land in between the arch. You have to still be wholly within the closest point of the weapon. I mean, of the model itself, it said in the rules, right?
I would be very surprised if there wasn't a 6-inch clearance between the two spires. That's probably why they're trying to, because otherwise, if they didn't have this restriction, then you could put both halves anywhere on the table.
What it needs is a goddamn fucking base.
Like it needs a base.
Maybe it has a base and we just haven't seen it yet.
It needs a base. Just like, for example,
but the base makes it worse. The base actually makes it worse.
The base actually restricts it.
The base makes it worse. It needs to be the way Rob thinks it is, or it doesn't work.
Yeah, the Tesseract Vault, for example, right? The Tesseract Vault is a flyer stand in the center, right? And then 4 inches almost, 3.5 inches from the flyer stand is this vault, this sarcophagus of model. So all these people, including myself and also all the guys in the very beginning, when we saw a lot of these rules, we were thinking, oh, you just measure from the outside. It's like, no, you don't. You have to measure these instances from the flyer stand that is in the center of the thing, because in the rules, it doesn't say measure from the model. It doesn't specifically say measure from the hull, measure from anything else. So as per the core rules, if it doesn't give you that permission to do that, you have to measure from the base. So it definitely limits some of these things. Rob, when something is dedicated to go in one of these spires, is that what they're called?
Spur, I think.
Spurs. What happens to the unit if the spur is destroyed?
If this hasn't come out,
if there are no spurs left for it to come out, it's destroyed.
So
slain.
So this is why I'm going to say for 120 points, there is some chances. I'm going back and forth, right? But I'm going to land on this statement right now. 120 points, depending on what my list is. If I am traditionally a Dark Eldar build and I don't have accesses to Rangers, or if I'm going into a tournament and I'm like, I have some extra 40, 50 points, I will make points for 120 to equal 120, to then try to block, as Kenny, as you were saying, infiltrators and whatnot. But I don't know that I can justify this ability if I want to use it as a deployment method. Because at the end of the day, we've said it time and time again, this is 8th edition. Nothing is survivable turn 1. Right?
Yeah.
Like nothing can survive. So then my next question is, under the big FAQ, where it says you cannot be outside of your deployment zone if you come in from Azures, blah, blah, blah. Is this immune to that rule?
No.
If somehow you can be in the dead center of the board, 3 inches off the center objective because there's no terrain, turn 1, can you come out of this thing?
No, I believe it still uses reinforcement rules.
So yeah, I don't know that you can justify if your means of using this is because I want to put Dark Reapers, I want to put Fire Dragons, whatever the case may be, that model will not make it 2 turns. Impossible.
Yeah, so like the restriction is too heavy for me. Now that I understand the wholly within 3, unless they give us a follow-up saying like, hey, you put the 2 arches together and you can be anywhere in that range. So that way I can like maybe fly a fucking flyer out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm with that. Right. But I would say its only use right now is if there are no infiltrating units available to Eldari, then that's what this is. That's it. That's the only reason I'd use it. I'd use it as a 120 point infiltrating unit where I'd set up the spires to fuck your fort operators. That's why everyone buys a unit of Nurglings, even if they don't play demons. That's why scouts are good. That's what they do. They stop Alpha Legion fort operators and other such things. That to me, that's all I can see it for. If there's no infiltrators available to them, that's what I would buy it for.
Yep. Well, I mean, it was an interesting mechanic. It was definitely worth talking about, running through it, because this is something we hadn't seen before, and we know there's terrain on the way for the night. So who knows where they're going with this? Or maybe it's going to be a new thing to couple with all these releases that might not have as many models to put out for it. But it's something different. And at the end of the day, that's what keeps games fresh. So that was definitely worth talking about.
Absolutely. Yo, let's jump into a quick commercial break. And then we're going to jump into the Deathwatch topic, because I know everyone's excited about that. Hometown heroes right there. Finally, the Long War swag is here. LongWarSwag.com, the official home of Long War merchandise. We've got a range of merchandise exclusive to the Long War brand, Next Level Painting, and Spikey Bits. Definitely log in today while supplies lasts. Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
ElrixHobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elrix Hobbies. ElrixHobbies.com. And we're back. Deathwatch, things you may not have picked up last week because we didn't pick them up last week. So
The Emperor's All Stars.
the Emperor's All Stars, I love it. I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna overuse the shit out of it until you're tired of hearing it. So Deathwatch is new. Everyone loves them. Blah blah blah. They're fucking cool. They may be a little cooler than you thought. So first off the bat, Rob, lead us down a clarification that we didn't research last week, but we were aware that it might be a thing. FAQ wise.
Oh yeah, like the keyword thing. So as of right now, Deathwatch is not included in the bracket chapter. Giving out the keyword thing, but Forge World does have an FAQ where they say that yes, the Deathwatch, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels can use all the units in the Imperial Armor book, but they don't. It doesn't confer the keyword to them, which is kind of important because that could have other meaning, especially in the case of Deathwatch. Assuming that the model had the special ammunition designation ability, they may give it later, they may not. But yes, you can take things like Leviathan.
The clarification, the summarization is that though Deathwatch appears to break down Deathwatch as a keyword, not a chapter bracket,
faction keyword,
a faction keyword, Forge World says it is. So for the purposes of selecting some of these Forge World units, they can have Deathwatch. Now it does get interesting because a lot of the things that Deathwatch benefit from use the keyword Deathwatch, not the chapter. So even though technically you can take some of these units, why? Like, what are they doing? Like, I mean, like, they can be in there. Now, do they break the Deathwatch rules for creating an attachment? Like, I don't know. So right now, I think they need to go one step further and address the fact that they have presented it as a keyword for sets of abilities and stratagems, and not as a Legion keyword or a chapter keyword or a faction keyword. So right now, you can take them. We're going to go a step further. Do stratagems that say for Deathwatch units apply to them when they don't have they have like their bracketed chapter Deathwatch, but not the all bold keyword? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's.
Or should they be allowed to have special issue ammunition ability?
No. Special issue ammunition units in this Deathwatch book don't have special issue ammunition. So that is only for the data sheet that allows it within this book.
Yeah, it's an ability, but in order to have that ability, you have to be keyword Deathwatch.
Sure, you have to be keyword Deathwatch and have the keyword special issue ammunition. For example, there's every Primaris unit shy of the Intercessors can't have it. Dreadnoughts can't have it. This and this. So like, I don't think that is a leg to stand on with this. I would say at the end of the day, Leviathan Dreads can be Deathwatch. I believe that that's what the rule was written for, because AKA they want to be able to sell relics to everyone, not just red Marines or blue Marines. Right. But I don't believe that you should try to make a stance saying that my Leviathan Dreadnought should also be able to benefit from the chapter tactics with this. I do believe that now that they have the chapter tactic keyword, that's what we're saying.
They have Deathwatch. They have Deathwatch bracket, and they even call it a chapter. So I think it's just I think you're right, Juice. I think it's just a matter of intent.
Yeah, it's just absolutely that
they're clearly two different rules, and GW I don't think is aware of that. Just like when they put out Hellbrute all capitals, and then they were like, oh, these all count as Hellbrute, and then Fire Frenzy is like a Hellbrute all capitals. Like, so GW, did you realize that you have a unit called Hellbrute, a keyword called Hellbrute, and a stratagem
Don't be lazy and just name your keywords the same thing as their parent entry. But so to put this in perspective, we're referring to the Teleportarium. That is the stratagem, 1 to 3 CP, and we're referring to potentially a Leviathan Dreadnought, right? All this says for being able to use this stratagem is Deathwatch Dreadnought. That's it. It doesn't say anything else. It just says a Deathwatch Dreadnought, Deathwatch Infantry.
Now, Juice or Rob, do you guys have a Space Marine Codex handy?
Yeah.
Or you can flip to stratagems in there, and like for Ultramarines, for example, and tell me how Ultramarine is presented. If it's presented all caps the same, then we know what's going on here.
It is not. It says chapter. I know it does.
Like,
under
so
the
if
fashion
it
keyword.
so if it's in brackets, it's an issue, right? Well,
Because I mean, technically, you can make the argument that even though you can put said Leviathan Dreadnought in your army, it may not be able to benefit from said stratagems because it doesn't confer the key
that's
word.
my point. That's
It doesn't have that wording. Here, I'll read the FAQ.
That's what I'm driving on. So you read the FAQ, then Juice will read what a Space Marine Codex is.
All right, so here's the FAQ. It's on the second page. It's actually under FAQs. It's the very first thing under FAQs in the FAQ. Are there any restrictions on which chapter I can choose when replacing chapter bracket faction keyword on data sheets within this book? It says yes, you cannot choose any of the units to be from Legion of the Damned or Grey Knights chapters. They can be from any other chapter though, including in bold, Blood Angel, Dark Angel, Space Wolves, or Deathwatch. But it doesn't say that it replaces or that it confers.
It says it's a
keyword.
chapter. They said chapter like 5 times. So Juice, so read to me like what an Ultramarine stratagem says. If you can unmute yourself.
For honor of the chapter is I'm trying to find one where it says anything other than, but it says select an Adeptus Astartes infantry or Adeptus Astartes biker.
There's going to be there's some
Wisdom of the Ancients. Here we go. Wisdom of the Ancients. Use this stratagem at the start of the phase. Select a friendly Adeptus Astartes in bracketed chapter dreadnought.
See, that's the issue that's our hang up. See, our hang up is that in the Deathwatch Codex, it doesn't say chapter bracket. It says Deathwatch in bold, which indicates it's the Deathwatch keyword. And then on Forge World, it literally spends 5 minutes telling you this to replace chapter brackets with Deathwatch.
Yeah, no. So the reasoning why is because in the Codex Deathwatch, there is no other discrepancy except Deathwatch. In the Space Marine book, you could be Adeptus Astartes,
You have a Blood Angel
Raven Guard.
You have a Blood Angel Codex?
Yep. 2 seconds.
There we go. This is how competitive players get to the bottom of this. Because you got to make sure that all your rules are in order before you go to a major event, and you can't play exactly what you thought you could play because you played at the Beat Slab. And we're about to find the great reveal right now as Juice sits down at his desk, flips open to I'm watching him do this right now. It's super intense. All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for honor of the chapter again. Here we go. No, it says Blood Angel, Infantry, and Biker. Give me something with a dreadnought.
Well, just anything. How did it say Blood Angel there?
Use the stratagem at the end of the phase. Select a Blood Angel Infantry or Blood Angels Biker.
Blood Angels all capital, no brackets?
Blood Angels, capital beginning of each letter in each word, no brackets.
Okay.
There's not a single bracket in this entire.
There we go. So I feel like Juice has determined that we can indeed, based on inference and precedence.
I found it. Blood Angels, Wisdom of the Ancients. That's the one I was looking for. Use the stratagem at the start of any phase. Select a Blood Angels Dreadnought from your army. Until the end of the phase, reroll hit rolls of 1.
So there you go. So a codex that is not in the Space Marine book doesn't use brackets. It just uses bold words. And and you can infer that is their chapter. And so if you use the Forge World FAQ, I believe this is strong enough legs to stand on to realize that we can indeed deep strike some goddamn Leviathans in with the Deathwatch Codex.
Absolutely.
100%.
Now, as we've talked about in some of the pregame, if you are not already a member of the Long Word, go to longword.net, become a veteran of the Long Word today.
You said that wrong.
.nut.
.nut. God damn it. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Longword.net. And you can get all those details because we go into, do we believe deep striking 3 Leviathans are good? Do we believe it is bad? We're gonna let that cliffhanger sit out there for a little bit. But I do believe that now that we have figured out that sticky situation, we have another one we can move to.
Which one's that?
New fresh units, homie.
Oh yeah.
We spent half the show last week talking about stratagems, new Deathwatch stratagems, and and the basic bitch combo of Deathwatch that everyone's talking about, which was Primaris squad with 5 Incessors, 1 fucking Aggressor, 1 Inceptor, and then the rest Hellblasters. We were like, this is the unit. Look how good it is. And then Juice was like, yo, but check out my fucking awesome little Terminator unit. It's way better. And then when we pointed it out and did the math, we were like, Juice, I'm sorry, that unit sucks balls.
Yeah, come to find out, my 5-man unit of Terminators was 1 more point expensive than 10 Swiss Army knife.
That can do more damage.
Yes.
And so then
cover more ground and do more damage.
And then fast forward to Robbie B saying something, because Rob is not as competitive as we are. So he looks at rules completely different way than ours. He's like, look, these are what rules do. And then we typically say something like, that's not good. But what Rob did was he said, hey, look, did you know you can join a Terminator to a veteran squad and they're fearless? And we're like, that doesn't mean shit. And we spent like 3 minutes talking about how that didn't mean shit. And then this happened.
Yep.
Juice.
So Robbie B unloaded the veteran squad to us. Immediately, I saw a veteran squad and I was like, man, I'm not going to talk about 5 Space Marines. I want to talk about 5 Terminators if I can. Little did I know until Robbie B pointed it out that I could put 3 of my 5 Terminators that I talked about inside my damn veteran squad. So to Robbie B's successfulness in diagnosing the Deathwatch Codex, we have come up with a unit. We have a new unit that we're behind. It is a 10-man veteran squad that includes 5 vets, 1 being a sergeant that has a storm bolter, 3 vets having heavy weapons, the Deathwatch frag cannon, 1 of the veterans, the last one, having the Infernus heavy bolter, 3 Terminators that have Power Fist assault cannons, 1 Vanguard veteran, which gives special abilities, aka this unit now can fall back and shoot as if it had fly. Don't forget that because you have Terminators in the unit, they are immune to morale checks. That seems good. And then also to round out our 10-man squad, we have a single veteran with a storm bolter. So that is 2 veterans total with storm bolters for a grand total of 376 points. Now, that is 78 points more than our Primaris squad. But let's talk about the firepower. Robbie B, how many modes of fire does a Deathwatch frag cannon have?
It has 2. 1 is a flamer.
Technically 3.
Well, yeah, technically 3 if you're within 12.
So unbelievable that this, and it's not just a basic D6 heavy flamer.
Rob, can you break down the damage types?
So the frag cannon at 8-inch, it's assault 2d6, strength 6, neg 1, 1 damage, auto hits. Of course, it's a flamer.
2d6. Unbelievable.
Yeah, 2d6. Yeah, it's really good.
Unbelievable.
Or the shell, which is 24 inches, assault 2. So you don't have to worry about the heavy or the penalty. Strength 7, neg 2, 2 damage. However, if you're at half range, it's strength 9 with the AP at neg 3.
Are you kidding me? It is the best plasma I've ever heard of. It is the best plasma I've ever heard of at 24 inches, and it is the best las cannon that I've heard of because you want to know what? I like guarantees. Sometimes a D6 will fuck me when I need a home run.
Yeah.
I know that there isn't home run potential with this. I know I just need volume of fire if I'm shooting at said target. This is knock it out of the park firepower for 25 points a model. Now, Infernus heavy bolter. What is that, Robbie B?
So this one's kind of cool too. If you can fire both modes, but you're at neg 1 to hit. It's a heavy bolter, so stock heavy bolter, heavy 3, strength 5, neg 1, 1 damage, or it's a heavy it's a heavy flamer at 8-inch range, assault D6, strength 5, neg 1, auto hits.
You can shoot both for -1, right?
Yep, from not neg 1 to hit.
So so before we go too much further, people are going to ask, why didn't you just take 4 frag cannons, 4 heavy frag cannons? There's a reason that we wanted to slip this one in there. And it's because of 2 specific different stratagems. Rob, if you can find those stratagems for us in
Well, I'm sure one's the Hellfire round. Hellfire shells, 1 CP. Whenever a Deathwatch infantry attacks with its heavy bolter or heavy bolter profile of an Infernus heavy bolter, make a single hit roll, subtracting 1 as normal if you're firing both. However, if it hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Now, what's the other one that bolter people can do?
Just before a Tempest shells, before a Deathwatch infantry model from your army attacks a vehicle with a weapon that can fire special issue ammunition. Well, that's not going to work. You can't special issue.
No. It's for so we have so basically
There's two individuals in that squad that have storm bolters.
Oh yeah, okay, then yes. You make a single hit roll for this weapon. If it hits, its target suffers D3 mortal wounds. Obviously, use your two to hit.
So there's always, don't get it twisted, guys. There's always going to be a Deathwatch master nearby. That's how these units work. So you have a guy standing nearby who's going to do a I hit on 2 stratagem that does D3 mortal wounds. Then this guy standing right next to him hits on 3s, rerolling on miss hits, does D3 mortal wounds. So this that's why it's the only reason we put the pocket Infernus heavy bolter in there is for 2 CPs, take 2d6 mortal wounds. That's just that's
sure.
Gangster good. So
let's break down now what the hell this unit actually does. It shoots 18 strength 6 -1 damage shots. It has the potential within this
reroll all miss hits because of master.
Yeah, everything is rerollable.
+1, probably +1 to the wound roll. Probably rerolling 1s to wound.
Correct. And then simultaneously, depending on what you're shooting at, if I'm not mistaken, there's a stratagem that you can be reroll 1s to wound on 2 different units.
Well, you can pick a mission type. You get mission tactic, or a force organization, a battlefield roll. You can pick a battlefield roll, and you get to reroll 1s against it to wound.
Right. So like you are going to be able to, and depending on who your warlord is and what stratagems you have up, you have the option, depending on what you picked at the beginning of the game and what you want to option select to because of your warlord trait, right? So you're going to be shooting 18 assault cannon shots. You're going to be shooting 6, if you're not within heavy flamer range, 6 plasma gun shots, right? God forbid you're within 12 range, because now you're going to be shooting 6 las cannon quality shots. You're going to shoot a heavy bolter that does D3 mortal wounds, potentially engaging also a unit that you do want to assault with a heavy flamer from your heavy bolter. Then you have 2 hobos with storm bolters, 1 to engage mass infantry if you want with special issue ammunition, and then 1 to do an additional mortal wound trick, right? So this unit can actually engage and destroy or maim 3 units. It's unbelievable.
And when you
for 376,
and that's just 1 mode of fire. The second you're within 8 inches of people, it's basically just take units off the table.
Yeah,
right? And you can't charge it. Like Juice brought this up.
This is unchargeable.
You can't charge this fucking unit because if you're gonna be within 8 inches, you're gonna have to go into 6d6 -1 strength 6 that are gonna be rerolling 1s to wound, and then an additional d6 strength 5, which is all. So basically, it's all the same because it's all gonna be 1 out 3s rolling 1s. You got to go through the
7d6 automatic hits.
You have to go through the 18 shots from the assault cannons, all rerolling miss hits. All the special ammunition fucking storm bolter shots. And this is the reason this unit works, guys, is because the teleportarian bullshit.
1 CP, you get to deep strike this.
You get to deep strike this. So this isn't going to be some shit sitting on a table that you get to fucking pick up all the dudes. It shows up when it needs to show up and it hurts you bad. And then that's going to be turn 2. And then by then you're having to deal with the rest of our army. And we actually pre-prepared impromptu just a basic plug and play list with that worked based on a lot of what Juice has been saying. He's only ever going to take a patrol detachment of Deathwatch. Juice, break this down.
Yeah. So here we go. So I'm going to leave the Deathwatch to last. So no one can say that 3 Dawn Eagle Jet Bike Custodes captains, 2 having Storm Shields and 1 having Victor of the Hunger Games and Invulnerable, say, or in a 5 Feel No Pain is bad. So I have, my list starts out as 3 Dawn Eagle Jet Bikes captains. Then my list
Supreme
goes
Command.
to that's a Supreme Command, correct? Then I have a battalion of CP generating 15 mortars, 12 mortars. So I have got 30 bodies. I have mortar teams. I have characters and everything else. So where I'm also killing infantry. If anybody doesn't think that those mortars don't pick up 25, 30 cultists a turn, 25 might be a little high, maybe 20 cultists a turn. Like that's quality chaff killing stuff, right? Then now, so this is the standard of most traditional lists. 3 Dawn Eagle Jet Bikes, infantry, guard that has CP regeneration. Then I'm going to roll into my patrol detachment of Deathwatch, which includes Deathwatch Master, our Death Dealer squad. Then we're going to pull in a 5-man unit of veterans, 5-man unit of veterans that have 4 frag storm launchers in it, frag storm cannons, right? And a Corvus Black Star. Now, the one thing that I do have to check, I'm sure that the Q&A will let me know simultaneously. Can a flyer, I know flyers can be in every other detachment in the game.
Yes,
Can
they can
I
be in a
have
patrol.
flyer in a patrol? Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that before the internet decided to tell me that I had a stupid face. So our army has the 5-man veterans with 4 frag storm cannons that go inside of a Corvus Black Star.
Potentially with the master.
So now you're saying turn 1, the Corvus is chilling in the cut. We take fire, we do whatever else needs to be. If this army goes first, the Corvus hauls ass, ties shit up, drops his payload potentially off, turn 1 or turn 2. It protects the 3 shield captains. So where they will in turn on turn 2 protect the Death Dealer squad that is going to be coming out of reserve, right? The whole time, now we have 2 turns 1 and 2, the mortars, the Hurricane Bolters on the Dawn Eagle Jet Bikes, the Hurricane Bolter on the Corvus Black Star to deal with the chaff. So when our meaty squads, our Death Dealer squad and our Flamed Frag Storm Cannon squad comes down, you are talking about that is the firepower of gods. Thanos himself, would be shaking in his boots over these potential plasma cannons, assault cannons, mortal wounds, trickery that these 2 units combined.
No, I love it. I love it because I love that we snuck the Corvus in there because you need something to distract from the Dawn Eagles. Also, just get so excited about potentially another frag cannon squad jumping into cut and being a threat that you have to deal with, right? Like you're like, fuck, I literally have to stop this from happening, even though and then once I stop this from happening, then I can try to target these fucking Dawn Eagle jet bikes. So no matter what's happening on turn 2, whether the Corvus is alive or not, the Dawn Eagle jet bikes are alive in the reverse, something is happening and something is getting all up in their business. And then the squad shows up and just starts deleting shit.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
it's threat overload.
Yeah.
Threat overload. You got to have it.
And-
Should we
yeah.
maybe expand upon like what to put in the guard list? Like, because I know we're talking about a 600 to 700 point.
It's like 590 points. It's like he said. It's like he said. It's like he just broke it down. It's 30 bodies, mortars.
Just like dudes on just the
reroll dudes. Yeah,
bars.
it's the
company commander,
Aquila grand strategist.
Yep. Yeah, and then now this is where you
40.
want to go, and this is all depending on what you want. I am even okay because of the relics that Cadia gives me. I'm even okay saying to myself, I want the Warlord to come for my Supreme Command detachment that has my 3 Dawn Eagle jet bike shield captains in it. If you feel so strongly that CP means that to you, which in my opinion in this army it does not. as long as I have the CP to give me the relics I want, and then give me my deep strike potential, and 1-2 left potential, guaranteed on top of the Aquila, which I'm going to get back 3 or 4 potentially throughout the game. I don't believe you need more than that, right? Like the Deathwatch, even in some of the stuff that it has, that it plays against Nids, that it plays against Krons, and the specialty stuff that it has against Eldar, you're only going to get 1 or 2 good turns with these units, right? That's why we're building these. For anybody who wants to know also, we're building these fatty, expensive units that have multiple modes of fire and that can do multiple things, is because we have never seen a stratagem structure as this that the Deathwatch have access to, that are so codex dependent, or excuse me, so codex specific to go after. This is the ultimate. The unit itself, because it can combine so many different units, is such a Swiss Army knife, let alone the access to the stratagems that it has. But now you're telling me this unicorn of units that we've assembled now has specific rules during a tournament when you get paired up against round 1, up against a Necron army, where you deep strike in, and any Necron unit within 12 inches takes a -1 to reanimation protocols, or in round 2 you play your Nid player who has a Malinthrope chilling in the back, keeping everybody alive and -1 to hit, and you just vape his ass by spending 2 CP because you can target him. And then round 3 in the tournament, you play against Eldar because they're everywhere, and you deep strike this into the heart of their army. So against them, they're the best because you deep strike in, you do your alpha strike, you shoot, kill multiple units. Then when they go to activate a unit that you have obviously set yourself up to be within 12 inches of and not shot them in your turn, that have fly, you now get to use this stratagem and shoot them for free. Right? Like, this unit gives you exactly what you need in your Custodes army, paired with your guard blob holding objectives.
And we're not saying it's the best shit in the world. We're saying that if you love Deathwatch and you're a, Deathwatch of the people's champions for you, this is the best Deathwatch ever been. And there is definitely
Ever
a way to
in the
play
history
it,
of ever.
but don't sit there and Mike Hasbro yourself. Sorry, Mike Hasbro. And say, Great Knights are the worst. And I'm like, they're not. If you take 2 Nemesis Dread Knight Grandmasters and a Librarian and a Supreme Command Attachment, sprinkle that into your army, and then one of them uses a stratagem for 1+1 invulnerable, one of them uses Sanctuary, and they both have 3 up invulnerables, and they show up and start shitting on everybody, and they don't die. But then the rest of your army is other cool Imperium things. It's not bad. He's like, no. I'm talking about, like, I want to play Grey Knights. It's like, okay, word. If you want to play just Grey Knights, yeah, they're going to suck balls. And if you want to just play Deathwatch, you're going to struggle. But you want to infuse other detachments from other, viable Imperium sources. And right now, Guard and Custodes, Supreme Command Battalion combo is really fucking good.
Yeah, come to find out, quoting, I'm pretty sure it was Gandhi, I believe, that said that units like this and armies like this go together like, lamb and tuna fish. Excuse me, I said that backwards. Damn it. Adam Sandler, you're the best. But so, no, you have got to play factions like this, right? Like, you have got to play, this is 8th edition. Mono builds, potentially, don't stand alone unless you're potentially Eldar. Don't do this. We complain about these factions that can just raffle stomp people, or these armies that do this. Use the tools at your fingertips to play the game.
We started the after hours of this episode, and this, we can go out on a cool message like this, like, so we can bring a full circle storytelling. We began and we ended with the same message, right? Is that, hey, we play for fun all day, every day, right? I'm trying to paraphrase Juice.
Correct.
Let me start mispronouncing things.
Yes, please.
We play for fun all day, right? But you know what's not fun? Losing all your fucking games.
Getting your ass kicked every game with models that you love ain't fucking fun to anybody.
Nobody, man. And you know, and at the end of the day, man, you got to win some games to feel good. You want to take all your fruits of your labor, all the time you spend in the Pizza Lab, get all that shit on the tabletop, and you want to win a goddamn game. You don't need to win them all. You don't need to win a tournament. You know, I haven't won a fucking tournament like an outside of locals in a long time. I haven't won any of these big events, but I win games, and that's all I need, right? It makes me happy. Means the fruit of my labors has come to fruition on the tabletop, that I go out there and I'm like, yeah, my fucking dope models are winning. So the only way you can do that is is what you said. We have to be willing to use all the tools at your disposal. You don't have to be whack about it. You know, there's better things than Deathwatch. There's better things than infusing Deathwatch into this. More guard, for example. Probably better, right? But you love them Deathwatch. You love their style, their Swiss Army skills, their unique like narrative. Here's a way to play them and win some fucking games.
Pretty sure Gandhi said that also.
Mm-hmm.
I actually Googled it and brought it up, and so that I was just reading off of what he said. Rob?
Fact.
All right. That's it for this one, y'all. Make sure to head on over to longwar.net, the home. Did I say it right? Longwar.net, the home of the battle reports, for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.